Hello students. So let us continue with chapter 11, work and energy. So first we'll solve the questions given on page number 152. Colored questions which are given between the topics. So here first question is, what is the kinetic energy of an object? Here students, you know that kinetic energy is the energy possessed by a moving body due to its motion. As I have told you, if you don't write due to its motion, this definition will go wrong. So just do remember, kinetic energy is related with a moving body and it is possessed by the body due to its motion. So we can define it as the energy possessed by a moving body due to its motion. So very simple it was. Second question is, write an expression for the kinetic energy of an object. Students, whenever you are asked to write any mathematical form of any law, mathematical expression of any law or any formula, expression for any formula, then you are supposed to write the formula plus you are supposed to mention what each symbol represents in that formula. For example, here we know the kinetic energy, we can represent it by Ek is equal to, all of you know the formula, it is half mv square. But you should mention what is m and what is v. So we can write Ek is half mv square. We have mentioned that Ek is kinetic energy here, where m is mass of the body and v is speed or magnitude of velocity. As we know in our syllabus, unless specified, we are considering that the body is always moving in a straight line. So we know in that case speed or magnitude of velocity will mean the same thing. They are equal. Okay. So I hope this is also clear. Now the third question is, it is a numerical. The kinetic energy of an object of mass m, small m, moving with a velocity of 5 meter per second is 25 joules. What will be its kinetic energy when its velocity is doubled? Second, what will be its kinetic energy when its velocity is increased 3 times? So I'll read the question again. What is given here? The kinetic energy of an object of mass small m moving with a velocity of 5 meter per second is 25 joules. It means given magnitude of velocity or speed, we can say v is given as 5 meter per second. They have given velocity means it is magnitude of velocity. V is 5 meter per second and kinetic energy of this body which is moving with this velocity, Ek is 25 joules. So here mass is not mentioned. Okay. So you have to find out what will be its kinetic energy when its velocity is doubled. Now students, here first part, you have to find the kinetic energy when velocity is doubled. So let the kinetic energy be represented by Ek dash. We have to find this when the velocity v dash is doubled. Doubled means it is twice v. Okay. And the next part of the question is, find the kinetic energy when the velocity becomes 3 times or is increased 3 times. So let us represent the corresponding kinetic energy by Ek double dash. So what will be Ek double dash when velocity v double dash is increased 3 times, means it is 3 into v. Now here first part we can do it like this. Ek dash, we know the formula, it is half m v dash square, because Ek dash is the kinetic energy when velocity is v dash. We know v dash is 2 into v. So half into m into, instead of v dash, we'll write 2v whole square. Now square this term, so we get 4v square. Take 4 out and we get 4 into half mv square. 4 into half mv square. What is half mv square? It is the initial kinetic energy. It means Ek. So 4 into Ek. Ek is 25 joules. So we can write 4 into 25, 100 joules. Similarly, we can find this Ek double dash. So what will be Ek double dash? It is half m into v double dash square is equal to half m. What is v double dash? It is 3 times the original velocity, 3v. So we can write here 3v whole square, which is equal to, square this, you get 9v square. Write 9 separately, so it becomes 9 into half mv square, but we know half mv square is the original kinetic energy, that is Ek. So 9 into Ek is 9 into 25 is equal to 225 joules. Now students, here I could have done it this way. When V dash is equal to 2 into V is equal to 2 into, just do this, 5, 10 meter per second, and V double dash is equal to 3 into V, 3 into 5, 15 meter per second. I could have done it that way, but why I didn't do? Because sometimes in exam the question comes without these numerical values. They just ask you what will happen to the kinetic energy when the velocity becomes doubled or tripled. So in that case, you should follow these steps only, and the answer will end like, when the velocity is doubled, the kinetic energy will become 4 times. When the velocity is tripled, the kinetic energy becomes 9 times. Because in that case, numerical values are not given. You have to just mention the relation between original kinetic energy and now this new kinetic energies. But so in this case, we are given the values. I could have found the value of V dash, V double dash and then substituted here and got the answer. But intentionally I have used this method so that even when the numbers are not given, you can give the relation, you can, in the terms of Ek dashes 4 Ek and Ek double dashes 9 Ek. Okay. So hope these box questions, their answers are clear to you. So we'll continue. Yes students, so all of you know now what is energy. It is a capacity of a body to do work. You know that without energy, a body cannot do work. Let it be a living body or a non-living body. Even machines that we see around us, if they do work only when they have energy, when they get energy. Even living things are able to do work when they have energy. And all this energy, whether possessed by the living objects or non-living objects, it is actually obtained from the food that they have. For example, when we talk about living things, we get energy from the food that we eat. And food that we eat has chemical energy. And actually we know food is produced with the help of solar energy only. We know that solar energy is a basic source of energy, or sun is a basic source of various forms of energy or most of the forms of energy available on earth. Similarly, when we talk about non-living objects, any machines like our car or generator, we know we need fuel for them. Like petrol, diesel, CNG for running the vehicles, we need such fuels which are fossil fuels. And you know fossil fuels are obtained by the decomposition of plants and animals which remain buried under the earth's surface, let it be land or water surface, for millions of years ago. So dead remains of plants and animals, indirectly we can say, fossil fuels are also obtained indirectly with the help of solar energy only. So we have also discussed various forms of energy like tidal energy, wave energy, heat, sound energy, light energy, chemical energy, nuclear energy. So energy exists in various forms. So now let us see, are various energy forms interconvertible? Yes, we know that they are interconvertible, because when we eat food, we are using that chemical energy to get energy. Then we use our muscular energy to do any work. Similarly, when we run a car, then the fuel that is used in car to run the engine, to run the car, that is having chemical energy, and that gets converted into mechanical energy. Now we know that if there is no conversion of energy possible, then life would not have been possible at all. Life is possible because energy can be converted. It is converted from one form into another. And we are able to use that energy to do work, and hence survival of on earth is only possible because of this conversion of energy. Okay. So now let us see that. So we know, yes, the answer is yes, various energy forms are interconvertible. Let us see few cases. Let us discussion energy transformation in few cases. Now if we talk about a torch bulb, when we have a torch, we know torch has a bulb and we use it to have light in a room, in a particular space in a room. So how the conversion of energy takes place there? We know in a torch bulb we have cell or battery. So cell or battery has chemical energy stored in it. It gets converted into electric energy, that gets converted into light energy and heat energy. This is a simple case of energy transformation. Similarly, when we talk about fan, in fan we know that when we switch it on, if electricity is there, electric energy is there, then it is supplied to the fan and fan starts rotating. Rotating means it is moving, a kind of motion only, so it has kinetic energy. And we know mechanical energy is the sum of kinetic and potential energy. So in this case, we can write that in fan, electric energy gets converted into, you can write either kinetic energy or mechanical energy, plus heat energy. You know that if fan is kept on for long time or for some time, if you touch the fan, it will become hot after some time. It means heat energy is also produced, although remember, it is not desirable here. Similarly, it is not desirable in a torch bulb also, but it is produced. Similarly, when we talk about TV, okay, so there when we switch it on, electric energy gets converted into light energy, sound energy and heat energy. Light because we are able to see the screen, sound we can hear, okay, when we switch on the TV, heat is produced again when it is kept on, you can feel it that it becomes hot after some time. And also maybe some kind of mechanical energy is produced in the internal parts of the TV that we can't see. But at least these three forms are easily, you can answer these three conversions easily. Let us consider one or two more examples. Let us take an example of hydropower plant or hydroelectricity. So in this case, as we have discussed previously also, water is stored in dam, which is a reservoir at some height above the ground, large reservoir at some height above the ground in which water is stored. Let it be water from the waterfalls naturally coming there, that is stored, or rainfall water is stored. So at height, so potential energy of water stored in dam gets converted into kinetic energy of falling or flowing water, that gets converted into kinetic energy of turbine of generator, and when generator's turbine moves, it gets converted into electric energy. Remember students, whenever the energy gets converted from one form into another, always some part of it gets converted into heat energy. But I am not mentioning that everywhere. You should remember, whenever energy converts from one form into another, a part of energy always gets converted into heat energy, even if it is, or in most of the cases, it is not desirable. And remember, in case of generator, what conversion of energy takes place? In case of generator, kinetic energy always gets converted into electric energy. And at home, when we have that kinetic energy, we can say, we use fuel to have that kinetic energy. So we can say at home when we are using generator, so chemical energy of the fuel used gets converted into kinetic energy, it gets converted into electric energy. So in all the power plants, these two steps will be common. Final steps, that kinetic energy of the turbine of generator will get converted into electric energy. These initial conversions will be different. For example, when you consider nuclear power plant, you will study in higher classes, there are two types of nuclear reactions, nuclear fission and fusion reactions. In nuclear power plants, nuclear fission reaction takes place. So we can say nuclear energy gets converted into heat energy, which gets converted into kinetic energy of turbine of generator, and that gets converted into electric energy. Now in sun gives us large amount of energy, okay, and it is free of cost, available every day. So solar energy, in sun actually nuclear fusion reaction takes place, and then nuclear energy gets converted into large amount of heat energy and light energy. You will study about nuclear fission and fusion reactions in your higher classes. Okay, so I hope you can now give, if a question is asked in exam from day-to-day life, in any case, what conversion of energy takes place in a particular case, then you can easily answer the energy transformation that takes place. So now we have a law of conservation of energy, according to which in this universe energy remains constant. Let us see the statement of that law. So here we have the law of conservation of energy. According to this law, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form into another. So remember, very important statement, law of conservation of energy, according to which energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form into another. So whenever any transformation of energy takes place, there is no loss of energy or creation of energy. Only conversion of energy takes place from one form into another. Let us prove this law now in case of a freely falling body. Now let us see the proof of law of conservation of energy for a freely falling body. I have written here introduction in short. Okay. So consider a body having mass small m, which is released from height h above the ground. So have a look at this diagram. This O is a point close to the ground. So this is O actually, this is ground. And here A is a point which is lying at height h above the ground. So consider a body having mass m, which is first lying at point A at height h above the ground. Let it be released or dropped from A. We know that when a body is dropped from certain height, it is a case of freely falling body. Remember, we are ignoring air resistance here. So in case of freely falling body, what will happen? A body will fall vertically downwards due to gravity. We know that. Here at this point, when it is dropped, what will happen? Its initial velocity will be u will be 0 meter per second. Now as it falls downwards, let B be a point. I have not written, you can write here, or we can just show in the diagram, or you can write in the form of sentences. Let B be a point when it falls down on its path such that AB is equal to x. When AB is x, then BO will be h minus x, that I have shown in the diagram. Okay, so when the body is lying at point A, when it is just released, its initial velocity is 0 meter per second. So at this position, we know that it is having potential energy due to its height above the ground, and kinetic energy will be 0 joules. Why? Because kinetic energy is half mv square. Mv square means whatever its velocity at this point. And we know when it is released, its velocity here is 0. So at A, u is 0 meter per second. Kinetic energy is half mu square. So kinetic energy is 0 joules. And potential energy will be mg into its height above the ground, that is h. So what will be the total energy at point A? Total mechanical energy we are talking about. That will be kinetic energy plus potential energy. So 0 plus mgh, mgh. I have numbered it as 1. So actually to prove this law, what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to prove at A, at B and at O, which is a point close to the ground. At 3 points, we will say that the total mechanical energy, if we are able to prove that total mechanical energy remains constant, so we are proving the law of conservation of energy. So this is our aim, to find the total mechanical energy at the 3 points. So I have done it for A now. Let us do it for B. So at B, when I say, so we'll consider the motion from A to B, okay? So at B, what is the kinetic energy? We know half m Vb square, where Vb is a velocity of the body as it falls freely at point B. Using as it is a case of uniformly accelerated motion, we can use the third equation of motion, that is V square is u square plus 2gh. So half m Vb square, half m, instead of Vb square, I will use the third equation of motion, u square plus 2g into displacement. What is the displacement? As it is falling from A towards B, displacement is x. So I will write 2gx. And I know u is 0. U is the velocity at point A. So u is 0. 2 will get cancelled. When you do the simplification, you will get that kinetic energy is mgx. Now let us find the potential energy. Potential energy is m into g into its height above the ground. So mg at B, what is the height above the ground? H minus x. Okay, so potential energy will be mg in the bracket h minus x. You can open the brackets mgh minus mgx. Now let us find the total mechanical energy. It will be the sum of kinetic and potential energy. So mgx plus mgh minus mgx. mgx will get cancelled when you open the brackets and total energy will be mgh. Number this as 2. Now consider the points when the body is lying close to the ground at point O. You have to consider the motion again from A to O. Remember, because this we have to take it as initial velocity. Fine. So at O, what will be the kinetic energy? Half m v0 square or vo square, where O is a velocity as it is lying very close to the ground at point O. So half m, again use the third equation of motion. So instead of vo square, I'll write u square plus 2g into displacement from its initial position. This is the initial position. So what is the displacement? H. So plus 2gh. Again in this case u is 0. As I have told you, consider the motion from A to O. So u is 0 at A. So when you do the simplification, you get kinetic energy is mgh. What will be the potential energy here? M into g into its height above the ground. As this O lies close to the ground here, so h height can be taken as 0. So potential energy will be m into g into 0 is 0. What will be the total energy? Kinetic plus potential, that is mgh plus 0, that is mgh. Number it as 3. Now have a look at first, second and third equations. Total energy at A, mgh. Total energy at B, mgh. Total energy at O, mgh. So at all the points, total energy is constant when the body is falling freely, that is mgh. So from 1, 2 and 3, we can say total energy of a freely falling body remains constant, and thus we prove the law of conservation of energy for a freely falling body. Students, remember that when students try to prove this, they do the mistakes here when they use a formula, for example VB square, u square plus 2gx they should use, okay, not h minus x. So you should put the proper values. That you can do when you draw the diagram. It will be easier for you, and always consider the motion, like for B, you consider the motion from A to B, then this will be the displacement. At point O, you consider the motion from A to O, this will be the displacement. So when you draw the diagram, it becomes easier to put the correct expressions, okay. Now you remember, when a body falls freely, so here the body is having only potential energy. Kinetic energy is 0 from the point where it is dropped, at the point where it is dropped. As it falls down, height decreases, it means potential energy decreases and kinetic energy increases. As it falls down, when it is lying close to the earth, what will happen? Potential energy will become 0 and the entire energy gets converted into kinetic energy. So as a body falls down, continuously potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy. At the peak position above it, at the point where it is released, it is purely potential. At the point close to the ground, it is purely kinetic, and in between it is a sum of kinetic and potential. And if you consider a point which is midway between A and O, that is at height h by 2 above the ground, half of the energy, that is mgh by 2, half of this will be kinetic energy and half energy will be potential energy. So here we have proved the law of conservation of energy for a freely falling body. Now let us consider an example of simple pendulum. You know what is simple pendulum? A point object, massive object, like we can consider a bob. You must have seen it in a lab. So a bob which is tied to a long, light, inextensible string and hanged or fixed at this point, free to swing here, okay, is called, this is a simple pendulum. Bob plus this thread is a simple pendulum. So we have a heavy point object whose point object means whose size is small compared to the length of this thread, okay. So when it is freely hanging here, we know that if I apply force on it, it means if I do work on it and take it to any side, let it be left or right, let us say this side. Suppose if I apply a force and change its position to this position. So I am applying force means I am doing work on it, and when I release it from here, so when I lift the bob from this mean position, this is a mean position and these two becomes the extreme position. When you lift the bob from its mean position, that is a position when no force is applied and the bob is at rest, okay. So when I lift it up to this side, to any one of the sides, I do work on it and that work is stored in it in the form of potential energy. And when we release it from here, then it uses that energy and swings and goes down, okay. It means when I released it, I have done work on it to displace it from the mean position to any of its extreme position. Work done gets stored in it in the form of potential energy, and when the bob is released, this potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy. And when the bob reaches here at its mean position again, then all potential energy, it means all the work that I have done, now gets converted into kinetic energy. But due to inertia, it overshoots this position, go on the other side and reaches the same height on the other side. It means, and if there is no air resistance or no friction here, we can consider once the simple pendulum is displaced from its position, it should continue to oscillate forever. Okay, but in reality there exists frictional force here, there exists frictional force due to air, so it stops. Otherwise, once displaced from its mean position, it should continue to oscillate forever. You know, oscillate means to do this to and fro motion about the equilibrium position. So here what will happen? The bob starts oscillating. It means when released from here, it will go down to its mean position, to the other extreme position, stop for a moment, comes back, again reaches here, again due to inertia overshoots and go on the other side, and again it stops for a while here. Okay, so as a bob swings, whatever work we do on it to displace it from mean to extreme position, that work done and energy are equivalent, you know. So work done gets stored in it in the form of potential energy, and then it starts oscillating, converting potential energy into kinetic energy. And you should remember, at mean position it is purely kinetic energy, and it overshoots this position due to inertia of motion. And hence it goes on the other side. Again kinetic energy reduces, potential energy increases. At the extreme positions, potential energy is maximum, kinetic energy is 0. At the mean position, kinetic energy is maximum and potential energy is 0. Which potential energy? That is stored in it with the help of work that we have done. So in between, at any point, we can consider the total energy, that is mechanical energy, is the sum of kinetic and potential both. In higher classes, you have to prove the law of conservation of energy for this oscillating simple pendulum. But here I have just explained you, no need to prove it, but at least you should know the concept of law of conservation of energy, or what type of energy it possesses at different positions. Okay, with this I think so the law of conservation of energy statement is clear to you, and you can give various examples for it. So we'll continue in the next video. Thank you, students.